Hey, good morning. We'll go ahead and get started with today's session. Today we're exploring Workforce Go and creating and customizing reports. So if you haven't done it before, hopefully this session will show you like the basic tools you would need to be able to build and utilize your own reports in Workforce Go. So today's agenda, we're going to go over the start screen and the widgets home screen area. We'll go through an introduction to Workforce Go reports with a little overview on like the filters and how we can use Workforce Go. The basic tools we need to build the reports is in the introduction. We'll look at employee information, viewing time off accrual balances, and if we have time, we'll look at viewing employee detailed calculated time and adding to our dashboard. As we go through this presentation today, majority of our time is going to be spent in Workforce Go and not through this presentation here. But I do have these slides put together, so when the training is through, I'll make these available to you along with the recording of today's training. If you have questions as we're going through the material, on the bottom right corner of your screen is a chat box. Feel free to add any questions or comments about the reports or the information we're going through. If there's questions you have, I'm sure another person would have the same. So let's talk about the home screen for Workforce Go. While we're in Workforce Go, I'm only using the current view that they offer. I'm not the classic view. So if you haven't used it yet, this might be new to you in its appearance, but this will be the concept of everything we're going through. So this home screen is where we can include information about the team that we supervise or people assigned to us, and some limited information about our own Workforce Go activity. When we normally start here, and many of your screens might already look like that, these tabs are going to have no information for you. It's up to you as a user to be able to use this information or to add information on those tabs to make it useful to you. We have this little wheel and drop down arrow that allows us to edit the tabs. And so when I do, we can see the home tab, you can name it whatever you want. And then we have these domain tabs. So many of you may already have some of these on display, but not in use. You can turn them on and off here. And so I don't really use any of these dashboards, so I have almost all of them gone, and I just have 2 on display so we can use them during the training today. But if we wanted to include the accruals tab, all you gotta do is check mark that it's on, click save, and now I have the accruals tab I can go to and include information about our staff's accruals there, or your own accruals. So that's our start screen, our widget screen. From here, we can add some pre-designed stuff for us. So if I want to go into the edit mode of this screen, now that we're in edit, I can click to add a widget. So we can see, I already have the turtles one that a lot of us probably seen the announcement for last week, but we have fun and start that's already included on my dashboard. And there's a list of other things we can add as a widget to us. So for example, if I wanted the attendance board and my own accrual balances, I can check mark both of those, click add, and when I click apply, that stuff will load onto the screen. And that loads below. And so now the screen might have more useful information for me for things I want to have quick access to from this screen rather than having to search through it in Workforce Go consistently. And that's by going first into edit mode, then to the add box for widgets, where we can choose to remove or add new items. So now I've removed those 2 and I added my timesheet. Now if I apply this, there's my timesheet, so the link to when I clocked in this morning, and then the actual link that takes me to my timesheet. Another nice aspect of the widgets or start screen here is we can have an area that's called quick links. So So when I click on the picture of my daughter, some links come up that shows some stuff I've added. So for faster access, if I don't want to go through the menu options up here, I can have stuff ready to go right here for things I visit frequently. So we can really make this page useful for what we want to do. There's these 3 little dots here that tells us that we can take action here. And if I want to edit these links, it takes me to the screen here. And so, one of the edits I've done was add a photo to personalize my home screen. You can do the same or just use the default icon that WFGO provides. And then here we can list these links that we want to include, which includes external links. So if you wanted to include a link to a website outside of WFGO, you can do that, or an internal link. And so we have what I have on my screen when I reset someone's passwords, if I need to look at security profiles, benefit plans, pending change requests, and so forth. If we needed a link to a different spot of WFGO, I have another spot open here. I can say I want to set this page as an internal link. And whatever we type, WFGO is going to start matching that to information available in this widget here. So if I started typing employee information, it's going to tell me what's available. So I set that pops up here. So when I save what I've just done and we go back to the home screen, in my links now includes employee information. And so when I click that, it's going right to the employee information screen for us. And so it's a great shortcut tool, especially having to remember the location of all this information. Because if we're going from the home screen, we want to visit employee information to view some data about the staff that we supervise or have access to. We're coming up here to the menu. You're going to go to the team option, which is the 2 silhouettes here. Open my team and we'll go to employee information. So potentially having that on your home screen as an internal link can save you some time. And so this is the next area we'll start talking about is the reports and customizing a screen like the one we have right here. This is the default view we see for employee information. Any user that goes to the screen who hasn't changed their view, this is what we all see. And depending on who you have access to, the list of people may be different. But one thing we know is on this screen, some of the information that's here isn't as informative as we want it to be. There might be other information we want to get. So what can we do on this screen? Number one, if we're going to be creating our own reports or customizing the stuff we have on our screen, we have to be comfortable with being able to filter the information here. So on this screen, I have access to currently 1,134 employees. And right now it's listing 10 employees per page or 114 pages. So if I was looking for a specific person, do I really want to click through all of this information to find that person? Obviously if you have access to less people, that might not be such an issue. But if we know how to use the filters, this can start to make our job easier. And those filters are in these white boxes that's just below the name of each column. So under first name, we have a filter that says starts with, and that's exactly what it is. I can start typing some letters, and anybody whose first name starts with what I've typed is what will come back in the return. So if we were looking for somebody that we knew was Lewis, we weren't sure how to spell the whole name. We didn't know the person's last name. And so I have starts with Lou, and you can hit enter on your keyboard. Now it's going to show us anybody whose name starts with Lou and appears on this list. There is another filter by default that's in place under employee status. And it's got this exclamation point and equals. And what that means is that this entry cannot be like this. So in other words, this report is showing us all the people who are not listed as terminated. So anyone who starts with Lou and is not terminated, here those people are. And so if we were looking for me, we can now see on the second line, there I am. And that's with using these filters. There are a handful of different options. If we use the like filter, what that means, whatever we type in this box, the filter is going to work to find the combination LOU at any point in somebody's name. So if we use that and we hit enter, no one else has that in their names. We can see here, Wayne is actually listed as Lewis Wayne as his full name. So if we were looking for starts with, his name doesn't come up under starts with. But if we use like, here's all the people who have the spelling of Wayne in that way in their first name. And so we have a variety of different types of filters. The presentation I have together that I'll send to you all has a page that just lists what the meaning is of each of these filters and how you use them. So I'll make sure we make that available to you. On the screen, if we're not sure, if we're stuck, we're looking information and we're just not clear what we need to do, in the upper right corner is a question mark. And when we click that, it opens up the online documentation that WFGO provides us. So if we weren't sure about filters, we come here and we search filters. It then gives us some options where the word filter appears in their documentations. And it starts to explain how to use the filters as you scroll through all of this information. And each box that you hover over gets bigger when you put the mouse icon over it. And so this could be a good way of searching and becoming familiar with how something can be done or what one of the reports means, or if we're looking for a specific type of data. Use the search box found by clicking the question mark icon. There's also the search box here that would work where we can type information like the name of a report. If we knew we were looking for employee information, kind of like that external, the internal link deal on the home page, I can type employee information, click that, and it's going to take us to that report. We're already there, so the page isn't getting linked. So if we're not sure where the stuff can be in the menu, we can use the search bar too. If we have staff we're looking for, so if we were searching for a timesheet for me, and we knew the period was somewhere on July 5th, I typed the July 5th, my name, and now I can click this, and we've immediately gone to the timesheet where July 5th falls. We didn't have to go look searching for timesheets and then change filters out of current month to a past month or a previous time. All we had to do was type a date and my name, and we immediately navigated to that place. If I needed to see my current timesheet, or you need to see an employee's current timesheet, we start typing names, we can get that information here. And here's my current timesheet. So if you have a list of staff that you want to find, you can type their name and here it is. So the search bar is a pretty functional tool for you. and can help you find reports or people or a specific timesheet if we were looking for something in the past or current. Something else that can help us use or learn with Workforce Go is in the menu over here, under yourself, under the single person, which means my information. You can actually come down to the help screen, and there's a My Learning tab that is designed based on your access level, that when we open it up is the training material for Workforce Go. And so you can access a variety of different training and start going through any of these things. It tells you how long the training lasts. This one's 5 minutes. Some are by video, some are just by reading a PDF document. So it's a variety of training available to all of us as employees. All right, so that's the basic stuff. Well, let's move into now customizing reports. If you have questions, please use the chat box. So we're going to go to employee information, but we'll use the menu for this one. So we're going to open the menu, My Team, Employee Information. And here we are at that default screen. If we wanted to use a different type of view other than this one that we land on every time we come here, that's what we're going to look to do. What is it that we're looking to seek or add to this report that would be valuable for us about our staff? And so we can see what's limited currently on screen, but just above the report on the right side is another actions button. When we click that, we have add remove columns. We click on that, it gives us a list on the left side of all the available information we can add to this report to make it better for us. And so it's all in alphabetical order on what it could be: company information, demographics about the employee, whatever fields you would have access to is going to be listed here. And so it's a ton of information regarding the employee, the company, all that stuff that's available. And on the right side lists what's currently in the report. And if we didn't want to include other information, say we didn't need the external ID, first or last name, I can check mark those three and click remove. And if on the left side we wanted to include somebody's leave accrual profile, as an example, we can use a search bar to type it so we don't have to scroll through those 100 or so bits of information that's available. Add it to our report, it gets added to the last column. We want it ordered somewhere else. If I leave it check mark and use the arrow, we can change where this is going to go. So say I want it after username. Now when I click apply, the report's going to rerun. And once the report populates, the 3 columns we removed are gone. The accrual profile that we put after the username is now there. So if we're responsible for staff within our program, the accrual profile is probably important because we know how many hours of leave somebody is earning based on the time that they've worked for the tribe. And so if your employee wanted to share with you that, hey, I feel like I'm not getting the right amount of leave, this is a good indicator immediately to tell us, should they be earning 4 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours, whatever it is they're eligible for based on the tribe's policies. And this helps us see that quickly without having to explore any further or pushing this information off to another employee to search for us. This was the report we liked. This is the information we wanted to see each time we land. We don't want to see the default report. We can come back to actions. There's a save view as. We can call this whatever we wanted to. So today I'm going to call it August view. I'm going to checkbox this because I want it to be my default. If you wanted to share the report, you could. You would share this view with another employee in Workforce Go. But if you're building some pretty custom reports and they don't have access to those employees, that report would really not be useful to the other person. So I've got my default and run immediately selected, and now we can save. So I'm gonna leave the back to the home screen, and we're gonna come back to employee information. Now this view is my default view each time I come here, rather than the other one that didn't have accrual profile in it. So this saves us a little time to include whatever information we need at the front page about our staff. So if we go back to add remove columns, we can search. You can include their hourly pay if we needed to keep track of their earnings to make sure it's current with any of our PAs. If we needed to make sure they were assigned to the right director, we can add the name of the director assigned to the employee. Same thing for supervisor, timekeeper. A lot of this information that's available to us. I don't know, employee birthday. And you wanted to stay on top of the activity for your staff so you can see this report and know such and so's birthday is coming up. So we'll make sure we recognize that when the day comes. A lot of information that we can use this report for. And what this is the employee information screen. And then any of these reports through actions, we can export this if we wanted a report to be directly on our computer. We want to use this as an Excel sheet or a PDF if that's important to us. You can print this to your printer as a PDF. So we can do more things with it than just have it on our screen. All right. Another report we can view, or one that I know that gets asked about, is about viewing our employees' time off balances, or maybe the history of what happens with their time off. So we're going to open up the menu, and under my team, we want to visit accruals and balances. So this report's going to take a minute to load depending on how many employees are assigned to you. The size of the report's going to be pretty big. So this is similar to what the default view would be on screen, but in this one I just removed all the employees that are named. So yours would have the employee name, employee badge. But here you would have a list of staff and their current balances based on annual leave or sick leave, education, comp, and I think there's one more leave category. But you would have all those categories listed by each of your employees, which then you can see the balances if an employee had a question. You can customize this report just like you can employee information. But this information that's now available is more related now to how they earn leave, with a little bit of their personal information included if you need to build a report that way. So we can, hours taken last year, hours earned, hours remaining. You can really customize this report about our staff's leave situations to stay on top of whatever's happening. You can hover over these options here. You'll have one with a little magnifying glass and a paper that says view history. So if an employee was concerned that they weren't accruing leave correctly, if you click on view history, that would take you to the history of the entire time the employee has been with the tribe, and it would detail any time they've had leave used or earned in their profile. So then you can see, are they actually earning leave the way they're supposed to? When did they start earning 4 hours of leave or 6 hours of leave or 8 hours? To be able to view and address a concern of an employee who might feel that they don't have the adequate amount of leave that they are supposed to be earning. You can verify that here and have that information ready for personnel once we're ready to address that. It would certainly save time to already have that when we question personnel. If we've realized LJ was supposed to start earning 6 hours of leave on August 1st, but we still have him at 4. You can customize that report to include all this different information. There's, besides hours, you can even include the dollar cost of that leave. So if we're budgeting and we know how much hours are remaining for somebody, you can add to this report what that cost is. So if we're budgeting for next year, we can have an estimate of how much the leave is going to cost us. We have a pretty good idea of how much we may end up having to pay an employee. We can get an idea of who is hovering over the amount of leave that could require a payout at the end of the year. So that's our time off viewing accrual balances report. So we're going to look at detailed calculated time. But another question I get is, people, of course, we can go look at someone's timesheet and scroll. Like if we go to my current timesheet, and we wanted to know what's happening with my timesheet, we can all come here and look at that. But we're going to have to go through day by day to see when I was punched in, punched out, all that information, which can be kind of onerous, right? On this timesheet screen, all we get is a summary of people's timesheets. We don't know what's happening. And so that can take a lot of time for us if we're trying to look at each of our employees' entries. Well, there is a place we can do that all at once. Under the menu, under My Information, we have a report under My Reports. There's a section called Time Reports, Calculated Time, and then finally Detailed Calculated Time. So a lot of clicks to get there. My Reports, Time Reports, Calculated Time, Detailed Calculated Time. So depending on the employees assigned to you as a timekeeper, supervisor, director, this list is going to populate with those employees. I have it set just to show me because of the training part of this. And so the default view would be a list of those employees and the time says for today. So depending on who you have access to, that's how this is going to be labeled out. And this is also grouping information together by workday. So if we were going to change this because we wanted to see my timesheet or the whole pay period, we can click on this time entry date. And the calendar range says today, so we can choose a range of time based on the calendar range. We can choose a date range if we want to see a specific period of time. We can even choose pay period. So we're in the current pay period. We can see that selected. You can click a different day and it would change pay periods for us. But we're going to stick with the current pay period. And now we're going to apply this. So now here's my timesheet all in one giant view for me. It's still grouping by workday. And so we can see August 5th, 6th, 9th, 10th. It's limited to 10 on screen, so we got 1 of 10. There's 28 rows, so there's 3 more pages to go. We can click on page and make this bigger so we can include everything on one screen. If we don't want it to be separated by this workday business, we would all have to do this because this is the default view. Uncheck workday and click apply, and now that break goes away. And so now we have all of my entries that are on my timesheet for calculated time are all listed here. So we can see with the very first line on August 5th, I punched in at 7:36, punched out at 5:04. So my raw time was 9:47. And then now here's the calculated time that happens based on my profile. 8 to 12, I was on the clock for 4 hours, so there's my 4 hours of regular pay. There's my unpaid lunch hour. from 12 to 1, and then from 1 to 5, there's my rest of my 4 hours of regular pay. And so depending on the number of employees you have access to, you can see this for everybody that's there. If there's a specific day you wanted to zero in on, you can filter to the date by going to your date range and just including August 5th, say. So now there's just August 5th. But that allows us to see everyone's punches all at once. So if there's an obvious error that we have, we can see that in one report. Or if we wanted to report on everybody's time in one printout, you can do it this way rather than having to do. Any questions about this report or the other reports that we've visited? One of the questions I'm sure a lot of people are going to have as we do go through this is like the premium pay and how we can get how many hours of work somebody performed during the period of time that an employee that we're responsible for in our program could be eligible for. So you can go to timesheets. We'll go to our people, open up timesheets, all timesheets. When we land here, I have it defaulted to just show me. You would see all the employees assigned to you. And it comes here and it's going to be on current month. So all timesheets this month. And if we wanted to report the regular work hours for somebody in one report and not go print 20 timesheets, we can start to make some adjustments to this report. So we have calculated hours shows as our default time. But we might want to show regular hours because that's going to be the amount of hours that someone's eligible for. We can come to this action button, add or remove a column, and we have all this list which includes a lot of stuff from our timesheets. That time shows as regular time. So if I type REG in the search bar, we can include now, do we want to see the calculated hours by regular, work hours by regular, extra pay amount by regular? We don't use extra pay, so that's useless, but it's a field that we can choose. So if I wanted to know the calculated hours by regular, we're going to add that to this report, and I'm going to move it to be up by calculated hours. So now we have that there. If we wanted to make the report smaller, so we're going to drop off information that might not be important in this look, let's remove those last three fields, this checkbook, employee status, and approval state, these three things here. So we'll remove those, and let's apply. So we're still on current month. So here we are for current month. We know that based on the timesheets I have, here's my subtotals. And if we were going to look back for a certain period of time, click on that, choose date range, and now punch in that date, that period of time. And for all of your staff, you would get one long report with that period of time for your employees. And so for the programs that have employees who will be eligible for that type of pay, this is a pretty fast way to collect timesheet information for everybody and not having to print all the timesheets. Only thing about this date range part here is you can't exceed 365 days. So we say we wanted it to end August 18th and we wanted to start August 1st last year. It's going to tell us right here our date range cannot be more than 366 days. So if our range goes a little bit longer than that, we may have to run this report twice. One for those first 366 days, and then another report for the rest of the time that needs to be included. And of course, you control any of the information that's going to be displayed here. So if we wanted to include sick hours used, the COVID admin leave, or any other types of admin leave, you can build a long report that shows all of that to use as a verification for your employees' use of leave if they're questioning leave. We have a few more minutes, so I'm going to leave this and I'm going to go to the dashboard again. So at the beginning, we talked about these widgets that we can add and remove on the screen. But one of the things when we go into this is we get this option for reports and charts. There are some available to you now that by default and intact, but you can also build your own. Oh, I'm sorry, in Workforce Go. But you can build your own. So we're going to build one together, and then I'm going to show you how to put it on screen. We're going to build it, base it off employee information. So I'm going to use my quick link this time instead of the menu. We have employee information. We have the report of all our staff that we have access to. We added this accrual profile. And maybe we want a pie chart to show us how many people fit into these profiles. So we can see that on screen for our employees. We know where people stand on their leave, how much they're earning next time, and what to project out in the future. On the screen where charts are available, we have this little button here. It's a little piece of paper with a down arrow. It says View Charts and Data. So we still have the data up top here just so we can see that. And I'm going to remove this. This is one I did earlier to make sure I could do this in front of everybody. We want to build a chart based on this accrual profile. So we're going to click on Create a Chart. And if you've built charts in Excel, it's the same logic that's going to apply. What kind of chart do we want? We have a horizontal bar, vertical bar, line chart, pie chart, and a heat chart. We're going to do a pie chart for this one. We're going to base it off the category accrual profile. You can use any of the columns that are on the screen for you. So if you wanted to use other information to base the report on, you want to add that column first. So we have accrual profile. We're going to count that. So we're going to use. We can add labels and titles to this. We can name this whatever we want. So we'll call this August pie chart. And so when I save this, we're going to get a pie chart on how many employees are full-time earning 4 hours of pay, full-time 6 hours of pay, all the way through for this. If we wanted to make this bigger, we can look at just the chart, get rid of that data that's on the top. And so we can make visible information about our employee makeup here. We can do this with hours if we wanted to know how many hours by pay period that we're paying for regular work, sick, annual, all those different things, whatever would be important to us to make visible. This is how we start taking advantage of that dashboard on the front screen. So we have our August pie chart, all the different leave categories and how many people from your employee information tab fit into those. So it's like 1,100 employees on my view. It's going to be a lot different, a different number for yours. So now we can see this. And so we know the largest category, largest single category by looking at the screen is the none. 392 of the employees on that screen do not earn leave of any kind. And then all the other categories make up the rest of those numbers. So obviously a lot more employees are earning leave, but the largest single use category is none. And that could be a variety of reasons, whether they're part-time, committee members who are listed as employees in Workforce Go, tribal council, people like that who don't earn or use leave. If we wanted to see this report on our dashboard, we're going to go back to our home screen. And maybe we want to include this on our team page. Mine's blank. So I don't have any information there. And unless you've used it before, it might be blank too. So we're going to go into edit mode. Now we have our add button. And we're going to choose report and charts. There's two tabs up here, one for reports, one for charts. It gets me every time I'm looking for one of these things when I make one up. So we're going to make sure we're looking for a chart. We're going to tab over to the charts field. Here's that one I had made earlier that was originally on the screen. And all you have to do is go through, find the one that you've named, the one you've created. We're going to checkbox that and apply it to the screen. And now there's that chart that would be on our home screen every single time we come to it when we log in or we go home. And now when I go to the team tab, there's that chart. And so we can make that larger if we needed to see that, much bigger, easier to read, because some of the small pie slices that's on this pie chart. We can come up here to print that if we needed to print that, export it. We can edit this chart if we wanted it differently. We don't want it that way. We want it as a bar chart. We can change the chart types. But now that chart is a permanent fixture on our home/dashboard page for us to use. Pretty much your creativity on what you want to see used for your program, what's valuable to you, or what you want to see. And you combine that with the employees you have access to, and that's the information that you can get out of Workforce Go. So that's the last of the material I'm going to go over. Thank you everybody for your time. Enjoy the rest of your day.